Okay, everyone, take 3 at this video because my kitten had other plans and wanted to play the last 2 takes. I am jumping on to share the week ahead energy reading. It's been an interesting week for me, so I probably just want to start with what's been coming up for me over the last few days in particular. So in southeast Queensland, we've been preparing for impact from Tropical Cyclone Alfred, who is now ex-Tropical Cyclone Alfred. Very fortunately for my local area, we were not really affected. He really hasn't even affected us in any way until last night, where we've had a little bit of wind and now a fair bit of rain coming through, but feeling very blessed compared to some of the communities in southeast Queensland that have been quite significantly affected. And what's been the tension point for me in this process over the last few days is I've really felt the pull to go into that hermit mode, to bunker down and to spend the time disconnected from technology, disconnected from whatever I could, to go within and look at what was this storm, what was this event that was happening outside of me surfacing within me. And there have been things bubble to the surface, but unfortunately, by nature of my existence within our current world and my role, that's really not been possible in the way that I wanted to spend time in solitude, really going deep into what I needed to be looking at right now. I had an important role to step into from a leadership point of view, and I wouldn't change that, but it has been an interesting tension for me to navigate. And I guess I just want to highlight that because as we move into the week ahead, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo happening. And this is kind of that tension that we're going to really start to feel is the society conditions, expectations, and structures that we exist in. Are they still in alignment for us? And there's really going to be those opportunities presented to us to re-examine whether we need to release some of these, release ourselves from some of these, both on the collective and the individual level, and possibly illuminate some new paths forward, some new ways forward. And I have actually just channeled a message on this that I likely will share as a separate YouTube video, or I'm not quite sure how to do it yet, but it really spoke to this message very much that this week we will be presented with opportunities to look at exactly that. What is in alignment with us and what is no longer in alignment with us? This really is a point where cracks in these structures and systems will be presented to those of us who aren't already aware of this, and kind of that forced recognition of, hang on a second, this life that I'm living in actually makes no sense, firstly. But secondly, that choice point then of what do I want to do about this? Do I want to keep burying my head in the sand, or do I want to face this and find a new way forward? And so there will be, as a result of the changes that start this week, not necessarily happen in entirety this week, but there will be more and more people stepping onto this path of, this is no longer for me, and I'm ready to create something new. And what came through in that channel message was this idea of, we are going to form our own networks of support. Like, this idea of hierarchy is no longer there, but this idea of networks of support are, and that we each have different roles. It wasn't even just one role. We all have different roles to play that will connect us into a network globally, but our roles within our local communities will be what's important. So we're connected to people of similar roles in kind of like, I could see like this spider web kind of lattice network across the globe, but each of us are embedded where we are to perform that role for our local community. And that was really fascinating to me. The other thing that came through is there is a lot of support for this galactically for those that are willing to tap into that right now. And even for those that aren't, energetically, we're being supported to navigate this week and this tipping point that will then flow into really the next few years from a place of really moving humanity forward to where we're going. So really fascinating, beautiful message. I'm very interested to see, I mean, we've been seeing the cracks in the system already in my mind. So many chills as I say that. So it is interesting to have that presented in such a upfront way, to think, what could that possibly be for this week that's more than what we're already seeing? Anyway, let's get started on the week ahead energy reading, I'm going to just pull some oracle cards from my Work Your Light deck. I had already pulled this deck before I did that channeled message, but one of the parts of that channeled message was, we need to be the light right now. We need to be that lighthouse that shows those that are just starting to face the reality of the situation, or a new reality, that there are other ways forward. So, bottom of the deck, we've got Pleiades, Double Mission, Channeling and Uplifting Humanity, 555 on the timer. I've been seeing a lot of 555 in the last week as well. I really do think there's a big shift, big change taking place right now. Something just flipped over. Priestess, how are you being called to step up and lead? I won't take it because it went back in. Well, there's a few doing that. All right, messages for the Mind Body Soul Transformation Collective for the week ahead, particularly as it relates to the energy relating to the Virgo full moon eclipse and also the Mercury movements this week. So tomorrow we have Mercury going direct in Aries, really calling in direct assertive communication. And then actually later in the week, the day after the full moon, we have Mercury going into retrograde, which those of you that know can mean difficulties communicating, needing to be really conscious of our communication and technological glitches and issues, and really making sure our communication in all ways is thought about, considered, and double checked if it's written communication. So we've got 2 cards out: Get Grounded, Empaths, Highly Sensitives, Connect with Nature, and Lemuria, we're creating heaven on earth. It's happening. That's the vibe. That's like us stepping into our roles now to bring this about, is the message that came through the channeled message. And it's going to be really important that we ground ourselves throughout this process, throughout the week ahead. Bottom of the deck, we've got Soul Family, calling your tribe. You do not have to do it alone. Exactly. We are creating these networks to allow us to build this new earth, and the networks of support that will support that new earth at the moment. And we are divinely guided at this time. All right. So I am going to use a tarot deck that I sometimes struggle with because the cards are not the typical suite. So we're going to work through that, but it's the tarot deck that I'm being called to use today. It's the Sacred She Tarot. And they are beautiful cards. They're just not named the normal tarot deck names, and so sometimes I struggle to recognize that underlying meaning outside of the meaning that's directly there on the card. And maybe with the Mercury retrograde, that's exactly the point. Connecting with our intuition to really understand the messages at play this week. We have Order at the bottom of the deck, which actually is the equivalent of the Emperor card in the traditional tarot. But let's see what wants to come through. Messages for the Mind Body Soul Transformation Collective for the week ahead that are of the light and for the best and highest good of all. Thank you, Spirit. So much rain outside right now. Like Mother Nature's way of forcing us inside, forcing us into forcing us into solitude, into connection, into getting grounded, because into rest for the week ahead is what just came to mind. All right, I've got a couple of cards out already. Oh, yeah. We have Self-Expression, which will be the Page of Wands. Gratitude, which is the 10 of Cups. And then we had a few come out in reverse. 5 of Cups, Disappointment in reverse. 6 of Cups, Passion in reverse. And Crisis in reverse, which is the Tower card. The words that came to my mind as I looked at these cards, some in the upright, 2 in the upright, Self-Expression and Gratitude in the upright, and the others in reverse, was like topsy-turvy world. And what I'm really getting there is that the energy of this week is along those lines of two concurrent timelines occurring, where some people this week are really going to have their understanding of the world around them shaken up with the crisis card. With the Six of Cups here, which is same passion on this card, but also speaks to nostalgia in the traditional tarot deck, and then the Five of Cups, disappointment. Yeah, I'm just getting this really strong feeling that some people's worlds are going to be turned upside down this week with what takes place in their own individual circumstances or the things that come to light on the more collective level. I'm also noticing that this crisis card is like a storm in a teacup. So I just looked up what that phrasing meant, because it's not one that I commonly use but knew I had heard before, and it's a British phrase that speaks to like real outrage or upset or anger about something that's actually not that big a deal, or a huge controversy that is perpetuated around something that isn't a really big deal. And there's a couple of things that are coming to mind for me right now as I say that and as I think about what that could mean. The first is that, as with all of us on our awakening journey, when we first become aware of what might really have been playing out behind the scenes in the world to keep us controlled, to keep us in our box, to keep us in fear and out of connection with our own intuition and own guidance, which is what this full moon in Virgo is all about this week. Those realizations initially come as a really huge destabilizing shock and can really put us off kilter, can really make the ground beneath us no longer feel sturdy and stable, but quite shaky. And again, those words came through the channeled message that I've recorded right before this. And so what might feel like absolute crisis and a tower moment in our life, that is a push forward into a new reality, into a new pathway, into a new timeline. In time, we will recognize was all just part of our story and probably didn't need to cause a level of discombobulation that it does. But the other message that was coming there is how much our media and our governments and different situations create this storm in a teacup out of little things to keep us controlled. So there's like this balance here right now of a storm in a teacup moment for a lot of individuals within the collective that really make them face the reality of their situation, of their history, of how happy they are actually in their current lives, and do something with that, come to an understanding of that to be able to move forward and do something with that. Like, are they going to keep holding on to the old way of being with consuming, which is also the Four of Pentacles, or are we going to adapt and move forward? But also on the more collective level, will we see attempts by whoever to control the narrative over the next week as these cracks come to surface, as people start to question, why are we doing this? Why are we living this way? Why are we struggling to keep food on our tables and to keep a roof over our heads? And for some of us not have that luxury at all and working so hard for that. Why? Will the structures that benefit from us living that way create events to distract us from that self-introspection, self-reflection, connection with our inner wisdom, particularly if those cracks that are coming to surface relate to individuals within that system? Will there be other events, storms in teacups, created to distract us from what is actually taking place and the information that we actually need to know right now? I might clarify some of these cards shortly, possibly, but with these two cards in the upright position, we've got self-expression, which to me feels very much like the energy we're being asked to step into this week. You know, those networks that I mentioned are all about us turning up in the world in a way that is in alignment with what we're here to do. And that is what lights us up. Like, what we're here to do is exactly what lights us up, what we enjoy doing, what our self-expression naturally comes out as, is how we're meant to step into this world and support those around us. So that, to me, this card coming out as the first card of this week is how can we stay grounded in that idea this week? As if we're not already in that energy, what steps, what action do we need to put into place to be able to step into that energy and no longer let fear hold us back from that, regardless of how much that might be perpetuated on the world stage this week? And then the gratitude, which is really the Ten of Cups card here. But what's really drawing my attention is like the lotus flower, and as if she's being birthed out of that in alignment with the moon energy this week. And so the message that's coming through for me with that card is less about the typical Ten of Cups message, although that energy is still present here, but more about a lot of new people stepping onto this path, coming out of the mud with the lotus flower and actually stepping into their full alignment, their full self-expression. And the more we can sit in gratitude for these opportunities to face the reality, to face the truth this week, the more we're able to stay in that energy and shine the light and be the light and lead others forward on this path. I don't know if I do need to clarify any of that, but I'm just going to see if there's any other messages that want to come through for us. Any other messages, Spirit, for the week ahead? What do I need to know? Do we need to know? Thank you. I split the deck to this card before and didn't do anything with it. And then it's just come out with what do we need to know. We've also got perfection on the bottom, integrity. Which I think is going to be the King of Wands card there. Let me just check. Yeah. I'm actually going to read that one to us. If you just give me a moment to find it. Persons of integrity shine with a strength of character that emanates confidence and honesty and naturally motivates and inspires others. Not out of a need to impress or prove that might is right, but their relaxed, respectful, and steady presence. It's not always easy to stand up for the truth as you see it, but greater awareness of your bottom line strengthens the ability to discern and appreciate sincerity in others, whether you agree with them or not. And you'll be surprised to see how often that recognition creates an opening for them to respond in kind. Be courageous, authentic, without troubling over what others think. No matter what you stand for, there will always be those who condemn or exclude you. So be it. This is your life. Don't waste it on relationships that demand or drain your energy. Seek out those who are in sync with the rhythm of your heartbeat. Look for and weed out any self-defeating concerns that have kept you on the sidelines. Accepting rather than condemning your limitations will boost self-confidence whilst honoring who you are instead of who you think you should be. That is so this full moon eclipse in Virgo this week. Genuine integrity emits an aura that cannot be feigned and that radiates with dignity unique to each individual. When vulnerability is accepted as a fundamental to growth, compassion for yourself and others strengthens. You have come to know that you are vital, not because you have all the answers, but because you have a healthy relationship with what is essential. Then life becomes rich with opportunities to learn from others, to share your ideas and talents, and to contribute toward supporting the greater good. And there's a little quote at the end. If I choose not to speak out of fear, then there's no one that my silence is standing for. Just to wrap that up, I just want to reinforce some of those key messages for this week. This week is all about new members of the collective seeing the cracks within the system and possibly, not even possibly, all of us seeing newer truths that we need to face and being willing to walk a different path from what we might have needed to walk before, to step forward with integrity, to step into our roles within our local communities, within our families, within our networks that is aligned with complete self expression, and to walk that with gratitude for our own path, but also for gratitude and acceptance is the word that's coming through of those that are just stepping into this path. And perhaps even those that haven't yet chosen what path they want to walk, but those that are navigating the world just as we are and that are struggling with all that is coming to the surface, all that is crumbling, including things that we once held dear to ourselves, or were not yet ready to face, that we weren't really in alignment with them anymore. And to meet each of the individuals around us, regardless of the path or the stage of this journey on which they're at, with acceptance, with a level of understanding of, I see you and you are where you're meant to be and you are walking your own journey. And how that turns up in my life is also part of my journey. Like a real disconnection from taking things personally. Or detachment maybe is the word. Like being able to walk through life in a detached way. And that doesn't mean not caring about other people, but no longer apportioning judgment to other people. Recognizing that everything that is happening within your life is part of your journey, including how other people turn up. And that's not on them. They are turning up in that way in your story because of you. They are walking their own journey and navigating their own healing and path that is taking them where they need to be and to the roles that they need to be playing. That's on all levels, because as immediately as I said that, I could see particular government officials in my head. And so how can we meet the world with that level of detachment that no longer buys into the storms in the teacup that are really trying to be created right now? And there are actual storms also being created that are really hard to accept. But we must remember that what we are seeing is not the full story, that the reality in which we exist is not the reality, and that we are only seeing a very small slither of what they want us to see. And there is a lot being orchestrated to keep us within the old systems and structures. And with the full moon in Virgo this week, it's kind of that tipping point of where that will no longer hold on. I've just split the deck to see if there was any other messages. The card I split it to was Flow, which is actually the Ace of Cups. But the Nautilus card for me, in a message that I received around this some months ago now, it speaks to this idea of our evolution, in that the Nautilus itself, as it grows, creates new compartments which are closed off from the previous compartments. But so it's that growth and evolution. There's some sacred geometry that goes along with this as well. If that speaks to you, I would encourage you to go look that up. But also, to me, the message I got around the Nautilus shell is that all of these compartments of our life or our past lives exist concurrently. And that is a message that's been coming through for me this morning in listening and connecting with other channelers and teachers in this space, is this idea of past lives is phrased in a way that actually isn't correct, in that these lives are happening concurrently. And whilst they are compartmentalized off from each other, and we may not, many of us aren't in connection with those past lives in our current existence, they are occurring simultaneously. And so as we do this work in this current lifetime, in this current dimension, in this current timeline, it has a ripple effect on our other lives. That will, as this teacher this morning said, which was Richard Readings, open up new doorways for us across all timelines. Which is why Sorry, there's a lot coming in right now, which is why there is so much support for us on this path right now. Check out the channeled message. I'm going to have to post it. I can see that even with the integrity card coming up, which is why there is so much support for us right now, because the work that we are doing to step into this new earth right now and to take our power back has a ripple effect out across the galaxy, across all dimensions, across all timelines, not just our own past lives, but the past lives of those that interact with us on those timelines. Then we've got spontaneity, which is the Queen of Wands, which is the counter for integrity, the match for integrity. I also am noticing that she's pregnant in this card, which isn't typical for the Queen of Wands card. So to me, the message that's coming through there, I'll show you the picture again, is really leaning into what lights you up. Like, we've got the Page of Wands, the Queen of Wands, and the King of Wands. Really leaning into what is lighting you up, because that's the path that you're meant to flow with this week. Not just this week, moving forward. But out of that, there may be things for you to birth into this world with her being pregnant there. I'm just going to read the little blurb from the book about this card. The little blurb at the bottom of this says, I sometimes throw thunderbolts in a moment of passion, or I can be the most supportive of allies. Starting projects or launching new ideas is second nature. In the fullness of time, the ability to bring them to completion has come to me as well. Don't be afraid to start. You may find amazing treasures on the road, and failure is only another bend in your path to self-love. So like this real message of following your joy, following your passion, following your self-expression, stepping into integrity, going with the things that flow naturally in your life, that's your compass through the times ahead. That is how you connect with your wisdom. The wisdom card is actually the world card. This is an end of a cycle. We are stepping into our new timeline, into a new beginning, into the new earth that we are creating. Let me just see if there's any messages for you from the book for that card, because that's pretty wild that is the card that came out last to end our reading for the week ahead. Wisdom. Whales have an intelligence far greater than we can comprehend. Their massive bodies and complex brains carry a consciousness that cultures from prehistory to the present have respected as holding knowledge of life's beginning. Those mythologies, songs, and stories enrich us with timeless essential truths about coming up for air and diving deep to survive, reflect, and mature. Whales are long-lived, learning and developing deep below the ocean surface. As mammals, they are much like us. However, as ocean dwellers, their air dependence demands cyclic surfacing. Breakthroughs require energy that, with intention, can be transformative. When a growth cycle comes full circle, a fresh cycle begins. Within that spiraling pattern, there is a point of transition. Think of whales breaching the boundaries of water and air. Their very being depends on it. For humans with a conscious intention, life's in-between phases are meaningful opportunities for reflection that open the inner eye of awareness. Insight, observing within, and overview, observing from above, are vital for activating the empathetic understanding that results in wisdom. However, stormy the seas of your life may be, diving beneath the roiling surface into a calm inner dimension where nothing is expected of you will provide relaxed space for reflection. With the benefit of cool, buoyant detachment, review the choices you've made and their outcomes. Let go of anything that fails to support your well-being or denies you the freedom to express your fullest potential. After numerous breaches and breakthroughs, a soulful understanding surfaces in the name of wisdom. I want to age like sea glass. I want to enjoy the journey and let my preciousness be, not in spite of the impacts of life, but because of them. There is not a card and its meaning that could have wrapped this up more beautifully. Right from the beginning of how I said this cyclone here in southeast Queensland was calling us to go within and sit in reflection and look at what was surfacing for us, but also this end of a cycle that is being presented to us through this Virgo full moon eclipse, and how it is how it is asking us to release that which no longer serves us, that is stopping us from moving forward in alignment with our self-expression and with integrity, and the things that our soul is being called to right now, to contribute right now, to allow us to create heaven on earth. I'm so glad I used this deck. I should always know that these things happen for a reason. Gosh. Thank you, everyone. I will upload this and the channeled message, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all around what surfaces for you this week to release, seeing on the collective level maybe what is starting to crack and crumble, and for us all starting to step into our paths and our roles in this new earth as we walk forward together, hand in hand. Sending you loads of love. Goodbye.